I will learn to strike, I will learn to fly. I will learn to kill, I don't learn to die.
Animal Crossing came out recently, and it's a good game. I personally like it, but this is one where I can definitely say I can kind of understand the gripes some people may be having, especially if it's their first one or they don't quite get what Animal Crossing is about. This particular release is one that became very apparent to me that this is a thing. It's probably, I'd say, to get it out of the way, the worst one for a beginner, just because it is a definitive slow burn, kind of like how Red Dead Redemption 2 took the slow pacing of the first game and made it even slower by a country mile. This is that version for Animal Crossing. It introduces weapon durability, which I know many people are not a fan of. I can definitely hear Jim Sterling probably screaming about that in the distance, because he himself is not a fan of pointless weapon durability to make something kind of drag out longer than it has to. The reason I say it's the worst one for new people is it does add a lot of caveats and busy work that you didn't have to do in the previous entries. We talked about weapon durability, and then we can move on to having to even build the houses for each of the villagers that move in. You have to, not necessarily build the house, but it's kind of the same, kind of that concept, by having to collect particular furniture or items for that villager's plot of land before they will build a house for them to move in. And even then, if you accomplish it, as I did, all three in a timely fashion, only one moved in right away, so I'm still awaiting the other two to get there. The game itself has always been a game that is built on nostalgia, that just gets, more and more massive in terms of how fondly people think of it when they look back. Not that any of the games were bad per se, but it's definitely heavily built on nostalgia, which makes it, again, hard for newer people to get into the game. What else was I going to say about that? Right. So yeah, something I hear a lot about is, what is Animal Crossing about? Why should I get it? And on the recent episode of my podcast, Disconnected Cast, we ran into that conundrum where we couldn't really describe exactly what it was without sounding like a raving lunatic. You take out a home loan from a raccoon, and you have a house that you are constantly paying a no interest loan on, and you are also just trying to bullshit around and make the in this case island instead of your regular city look nice and customize it and whatever, whether that's fishing with or using tools to do stuff that you get from whacking a tree a couple of times or shaking it, assuming you don't get bit up by a bunch of wasps. Sounds fucking stupid. I really believe that Animal Crossing is one of the hardest games to sell to anybody, and it was this particular generation that made that very clear to me. And again, I don't know if it's because of how much time has passed by since the last entry, or of the fact that they made a lot of changes that really make me ponder again whether or not this is a particularly good game. I enjoy it, but I really would say it's truly hard to recommend. One of the downgrades as you progress, and I know that sounds funny, which is why I wanted to phrase it that way, is that you go from being able to sell stuff 24 hours whenever you have the temp shop in the community center set up. But the second you have the proper shop open, you can only really sell for 14 hours a day from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. local time, which because they do have a drop box that you can put in to put items, but one, you only get 80% of the value of what they would have given you, and then on top of that, you have to wait until the mail comes when they transfer you the wire transfer to your bank account. It's things like these where it almost seems like the more you develop the island, the more either work you have to do or the more inconvenient things get, which is really odd because I don't remember that particular type. I remember the shop thing being a thing, but I don't remember the game feeling like it's kind of starting to become more and more of a burden as you play it. I recently ran into Mabel, but she hasn't appeared yet in my area, so I don't know how long it's going to be. That was after like 6 days of playing. I do know some events do happen over real time. Others are triggered by tasks that you complete or other events. I think one of the main appeals of it too is the realistic, or rather the unrealistic things that appear in the game in terms of like, and again, having a no interest loan on your home that you can just take however long you want to pay at your own pace, no pressure. Things like that, I think, are appealing, and why you seem to get drawn into the game, at least when you're an adult. When I was a kid, it was more so, because it was cute and little, tasks that you get to do, have your own place, things that at the time you didn't get to imagine. I don't know if I recommend Animal Crossing. I just really don't. I think if you're interested in it, you should definitely try to play it. It really makes no sense to go back and play the old games before this, because one, you're not going to really find anyone else to play with unless you coordinate, playing the old game with them. Or two, you end up having the thing where you're going to run into this game where I think there's a lot of issues with it in terms of the pacing or the way they run things about that you may not like. Case in point, as we're talking about it, another example is the way the multiplayer works. You have the little airport thing, and you talk to the guy, you go online. Now, if your friend's already on Switch, it's still really, you have to go through like a million text prompts, which is a huge problem. It's always been a problem of the game, but again, it's become very apparent to me now that it's an issue. Is just how many times you hear the same shit over and over again. Do you want to open the gate? Yes. Okay. You want to connect online? You want to go play with a friend? You want to find them because, whatever. And if you're not friends with somebody on Switch, but you still want to play with them, why? I don't know why that'd be a thing, but it is a feature. You basically have a disposable code that's generated, your Dodo code as it's called, and it'll basically generate a code one time that you're going to have someone onto your island without having to be registered friends on Switch. Why I just add them on Switch? I don't know. Overall, I am enjoying the game, despite the fact that it is having me run through hoops and doing all sorts of crazy things. But there's a lot of fun in discovering the game. I know I put a damper on it, and it's really weird to try to turn it around now towards the end of the first impressions video, but I enjoy it. And I like the fact that I'm discovering little secrets, and you have you can travel to procedurally, or would you say randomly, generated islands that you can kind of farm on and craft and, harvest what you need and bring it back to your main island. There's a lot of fun to be had. There's a lot of things to discover. I'm still having fun going through each day, not knowing exactly what new thing is going to come out or what secrets I can discover, even on someone's island. I just recently went to someone's island in the southern hemisphere and got all sorts of different fish and everything, which is cool. Do I see myself playing this game beyond 3 weeks? I don't see it right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if something clever happens that may turn it around for me. But that's it. This is a really polarizing game. I just can't, out of honesty, recommend it. But I would say that if you're interested in it, hell, give it a swing. But at $60, how much of a swing do you want to take? Just in case it misses. I don't know. I like it. You like Animal Crossing, you'll probably dig it. You might not, depending on some of the changes that they made, especially the tool durability and everything. But you may like it. And if you've never played an Animal Crossing game before, perhaps this coming in with no bar set is exactly what you need. Or maybe it's not. Well, I'm just going to keep being indecisive, so let's wrap it up. Animal Crossing, it's good. Can't recommend it.